The 4-H did teach us a lot. We had to keep track of our hours and so on. And if we made a dress, at which I made one with much help, we wore 'em at a style show right before the fair started. Also at this fair time, I'll have to remember the 4-H, each 4-H club in the county had to put on some kind of a thing in front of the grandstand. That was one of the requirements. So the two leaders, Mother was the leader for 17 years, and a man named Jesse James was leader for about 10 years, I guess. Anyway, they picked out a close girlfriend of mine and two boys, and we had to sing "Hello, You Playmates." No music, nothing. But of course, everybody in the grandstand thought it was great, and it was the first time that that I'd ever even seen a microphone. But it was in front of the grandstand at night, and they had lights, and so it was kind of neat. Later, I'll tell you about other projects we had there. Like I say, growing up, the folks went to a lot of dances, and we went, and there was, they always took their kids, and they had a bed or a room that the kids could go in if they got sleepy and so on. But I can't ever remember laying down, but I can remember them kids laying on the bed, and they would cry, so on. When 1930s, Joanne was born in 1934, and at that time the folks built their new house, and that's when we moved out of the sod house. And it stood there on the place for a few years, but not too long. And they also tore up the cellar that they had. And that house still stands today. It had a basement, it was 2 rooms and so on, and stucco. And we had butane gas put in rather than the cobs and coal, and Mother had a scale gas stove, and still had an ice box rather than a refrigerator, which they got later. And the ice at that time, like Walter's, they dug a big hole in the ground, filled it with snow and ice, and that's where they kept their perishable things. And I can remember Mother and Grandma, if you had milk or butter, they'd put it in jars and throw it in the water barrel. And that's how it kept cold. The new house was made of stucco on the inside, and it was 2 bedrooms and a kitchen, a dining room, and then a front room. And then there was a little hallway, and there were 2 bedrooms there, and one closet was separated the 2 bedrooms. We had a full basement that they never ever finished it, but they'd keep a lot of stuff down there. It was stucco on the inside. Dad did not like wallpaper, so the inside of it was a stucco and spray painted. And they had butane lights at this time, and at this time we were one of the few that had a battery radio, and by this time telephones had came in, and if you saw an airplane going over the sky, why, that was quite a novelty. But the first thing in the 30s, I said the dust storms. I'll tell about what happened in the 30s. They had the dust storms, and then they had a plague of grasshoppers that came in, and all the farmers poisoned with grasshopper poisoning. And after the grasshoppers came rabbits. Rabbits, lots of rabbits. So they'd have what they called a rabbit hunt. And all the neighbors would get together and they'd pick probably a half a section at a time. They do it. And mostly it was on grassland or roads. And the women would drive the cars and the men would make this big circle. And then they'd all carry clubs and come together. And when they got these rabbits surrounded, where they'd beat them to death with clubs, and then they'd bury them. You couldn't go down the road at night without seeing, sometimes 15, 20, 30 jackrabbits. And I never really liked these hunts very well, but did go on 2 or 3 of them. And the boys, the men and the bigger boys, they were the ones that done that. None of them were ever shot. The rabbits were ever shot. They always beat them to death and then planted them or buried them. And after the dirt storms, then come the Depression. And it hit, I don't know what year it started, but I do know that it went into the probably 40, was probably 40, 41 maybe. So that was the end of the Depression. So Dad bought a new tractor, first tractor he had in 1935, and he built the house. And how people could afford or even live for all the trouble that they had in there. Dad, like I say, was elected county commissioner, so he had to go to town at least twice a week. So, but some people, if they went to town once a month and just kind of lived on, I guess, eggs and whatever they'd buy when they got there. They had card parties at least once a month at somebody's home. So I mean, they went a lot, or we went a lot in those years. Okay, let's stop for a while.